Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone, and the Clippers look terrible. They have been one of the worst teams in the entire NBA to start this season, and this is a squad that I was high on, that I believed in. I was like, hey, I kind of like what they showed last season. You know, no Kawhi Leonard for a huge chunk at the beginning of the year. They still win 50 games. Harden still has it. He's able to elevate an offense, really any offense. Zubats look like an all-NBA player, and I really like the moves they made this offseason. I'm like, hey, bringing Chris Paul as another playmaker and ball handler. He is 40, so I don't know how much he's going to do, but theoretically, I like that idea. Brook Lopez is a backup big fan of that. Bringing in John Collins, giving you a little bit of an athletic, a guy that can play the 4 and allow Kawhi to slot back to the 3 more often. That sounds good to me. And then Bradley Beal, I know a lot of people were down on him, but he still is a good basketball player, even if he was vastly overpaid in Phoenix. They got him for a cheap contract to kind of come in and replace some of the Norman Powell production. Did suck that they lost him, but to bring in John Collins and make all these other moves, I felt like it made sense. I thought the Clippers had a great offseason, and they put themselves in a spot to be a top 4 team in this year's Western Conference with Kawhi and James Harden healthy to start the year. All that sounded good to me. And instead they suck. They were 3-6 to start this season, and like you can talk about Kawhi missing the last 3 games, or Harden missing a game, or Bradley Beal, whatever. You can talk about guys being in and out of the lineup. There are so many teams in the NBA right now that are going through the exact same thing, and they're still finding way more success. The other team in Los Angeles hasn't had LeBron James the entire year, and they've been one of the best teams in the West, even though they just lost to the Trailhawks in embarrassing fashion, but we'll talk about that later. But still, it's no excuse for the way that they've played so far, because I don't think having Kawhi Leonard was going to make a difference in these last 2 Suns games where they lost by double digits to a team that, you know, the Suns have been playing decent, shout to them, but if the Clippers want to be serious and be like an actual contender, top tier team in the Western Conference, these are games they should not be losing the way that they are. And the way they're losing them is by not doing a lot offensively and bleeding points on the defensive end. Last year, they're one of the best defenses in the entire sport. They were locked down on that end. That identity is gone. They are an absolute travesty on the defensive end. They can't guard anybody. Like, 5 of you out there randomly watching this video could go on the court and probably put up a clean 100 on this Clippers defense right now. They currently have the 27th defensive rating. They're below the Sacramento Kings, the Utah Jazz, the Charlotte Hornets, teams that everybody's like, yeah, they're going to be really bad defensively this season. The Clippers are below them right now. And again, I know it's kind of early in the season, but to even be in that spot this early is really telling about where they are at. They don't have that defense. They look old. They look slow-footed. And that was a genuine concern because this is an extremely old roster. Their best player in Kawhi is in his mid-30s. Same thing with James Harden. Brook Lopez is nearing 40. Chris Paul is 40. Bradley Beal is into his 30s now. Like, there are very minimally young athletic players on this roster. Like, there are about 7 players on the Clippers who are older than Alex Caruso, who is the oldest guy in the Oklahoma City Thunder. The league has gotten younger and more athletic. You talk about like the Spurs or the Rockets, like these teams are towards the top of the Western Conference. Like the Lakers this year, this offseason, got younger and more athletic. The Clippers went the opposite direction. They kind of banked on talent and skill and veteran savvy. It's not worked out at all. They just cannot stop anybody. Guys are getting right downhill, kicking out the shooters. They give up a top 5 frequency in 3-pointers allowed to opponents, and a top 5 percentage. So basically, every team is coming into the Intuit Dome and frying them from the outside. And that's because they can't stop anybody from getting downhill. They're slow-footed on closeouts. They're slow-footed on rotations. The communication looks terrible out there. It looks like guys that have never played the sport of basketball before. I know there are moving pieces, parts, guys have been in and out of the lineup. I get all of that. But it should not look this bad. It shouldn't. There's no excuse for that. Like, yeah, Kawhi is going to make a bit of a difference on that end, but Kawhi is no longer an elite defender. He's just not at that level anymore. And Kawhi Leonard, for, you know, all we talked about him coming into the year healthy, is now dealing with an ankle injury that has kept him out for a few games. Like, even when Kawhi comes into the year healthy, he's never truly healthy. In 2025, Kawhi Leonard be the best player in a championship team? And I think the answer is no. And that's ultimately why coming into the season, I'm like, this is not a championship contender. If everything really clicked, then I felt like there was a path for them to maybe make a conference finals, but it was really hard for me to envision them making it to the end, especially with how old they were. And I think that that's ultimately a limitation. Not that Kawhi is bad. Like, Kawhi has been perfectly fine this season. He had the game winner, but like, you look at the shot that he took to try and end the game against the Miami Heat, where he was really not able to create any real separation, and it turned to just a terrible prayer 3-point attempt. attempt. Like that, I think, is going to be what we see from the Clippers in the clutch a lot. Harden is really good at breaking down a defense still in playmaking, but he's not got the burst that he used to have. Bradley Beal has been terrible this season. He was supposed to elevate this offense. The offense, by the way, also really bad. 21st in the NBA. They do not really force opponent turnovers. They turn the ball over at one of the highest marks in the NBA. Nothing is good about the way the Clippers have played this season. Chris Paul looks unplayable. One of my favorite players ever. It's over. Like he is washed. This probably should be his last season because he's just ineffective at this point. Bradley Beal had the chance last game in Phoenix to show that the Suns made a mistake, that they shouldn't have gotten rid of him, that he wasn't the problem. He shot 2 of 14 for 5 points. Brook Lopez hasn't been terrible, but he can't really rebound. They got destroyed on the glass tonight. The three-point shot hasn't really been there. Almost none of the additions they made have worked out. They all look like they've regressed significantly. Really, the only guy that I've been impressed with that they brought in this offseason is John Collins. He's been amazing so far. 13 points, 5 boards, shooting 57% from the field and 45% from three. He's been everything you could have possibly wanted if you're a Clippers fan so far this season. So the question comes about, why is he not starting? Why is John Collins coming off the bench? Why is he only playing 24.5 minutes per game? He should be playing 30 at this point as one of your best players. The lineup that they started tonight was Chris Dunn, James Harden, Bradley Beal, Derrick Jones Jr., and Zubats. That lineup had a negative 16.7 net rating. Unsurprising. Does not sound like a good lineup. Never mind a lineup that should be playing a total of 12 minutes. What about that sounds appealing? To have Harden and Bradley Beal as your guard defenders, and then ask Chris Dunn to guard bigger than him. And then Derrick Jones Jr., who's not like a big four. Like, you don't have size. You've got like one guy who I trust to get a perimeter stop and Chris Dunn every now and again. It's just terrible. And that brings me to Tyronn Lue, who I think has done a terrible job coaching this team so far this season. The lineups have been baffling. I've not understood a lot of the rotations. Like, John Collins is one of the examples, but there are multiple moments where like, why is this lineup out there? Why is this guy not in the game? And this is coming from someone who typically thinks of Tyronn Lue as a fantastic coach. If you go to the Clippers Reddit or look on Twitter or anything, there are Clippers fans relentlessly calling for Tyronn Lue to be fired. And when things go bad, every fan base wants to blame the coach. I don't think it's all Tyronn Lue, but I definitely don't think he's doing this team any favors with the way that he has orchestrated them. And it is up to him to get this team to communicate, to defend, to talk to each other at all. It looks like they don't enjoy or want to play basketball together whatsoever. The amount of defensive breakdowns where someone just ends up wide open, it's too much for my brain to even comprehend. It is a nightmare over there right now in Los Angeles. And to make things even worse, this is a year where the Clippers owe the Thunder their pick. They're potentially, if everything continues the way it's going right now, gonna give the Thunder a lottery pick. If it jumps up, maybe even a top 4 selection. There is a world that they give the Thunder Cam Boozer, Darren Peterson, or AJ DeBanza, or at least the ability to trade that pick that gets another team one of those guys for a significant upgrade at some position. And as a Thunder fan, that'd be kind of sick, but I'm sure the rest of the NBA doesn't want to see that, and it's just a testament to just kind of how Clippers everything has been so far. The Clippers, somehow they could be put, you could give them the best roster ever. There have been so many times throughout this era where I'm like, maybe this is the year for the Clippers, and it just never works. Just never does. Cursed is probably a good way to describe the Los Angeles Clippers. There's, of course, still the Kawhi aspiration thing that, we're still waiting on the investigative results from the NBA 2 hanging over this team. I don't know. I just really thought they're going to be a lot better. And I've been disappointed with basically everybody on this roster, but John Collins, Cam Christie too. Cam Christie, I feel like has been pretty solid. He should get more minutes because, again, they could use some young athletic guys for a really old team. It's crazy to me how badly that they've just fallen off a cliff from the end of last season, where they were one of the best teams in the NBA by far down the stretch of the season. Over the last 15 games or so, I think they had the best record in the NBA, or at least they were tied with the Thunder. They were right there. And they pushed the Nuggets, who eventually pushed the Thunder, to 7 games. They almost knocked off the Denver Nuggets round 1. And then I thought they made upgrades, and they're just way worse now. They've just been abysmal. There was no excuse. I don't care that Kawhi is missing games, because guess what? It's gonna keep happening. It's just a reality of the Kawhi Leonard situation at this point. Harden's probably going to miss some games too. Bradley Beal is definitely going to miss games. It's going to happen. But a lot of other teams are going through it. None of them are playing as bad as the Clippers. So, yeah. It's kind of my ramble right now. 3-6. Good Lord. 3-6. And keep in mind, this was supposed to be an easy stretch of their schedule. They get to the end of November into December. They have the Cavs, the Lakers, the Grizzlies, the Mavs, the Heat, the Hawks, the Grizzlies, the Timberwolves, the Thunder, the Lakers, the Rockets, the Trailblazers, and the Pistons over a stretch. It's not a lot of easy games in there. If they keep playing like this, they will be well below 500 after that stretch. And if they are, I have no idea what happens with this team. They can't really afford to blow it up, but at that point, something's got to change. Maybe Tyronn Lue gets fired. Maybe they trade like a Harden or Kawhi Leonard, although I don't know who's going to take them on their contracts at this point. I don't really know, but it feels like something could drastic if things keep going this way. But that's the Clippers. Yeah, again, been one of the worst teams in the NBA. Let me know what your thoughts are about the way that they've started this season. Let's talk about the rest of the games in the NBA over the course of this night. Like I mentioned, the Hawks blew out the Lakers without Trae Young. Just all around really meh game. Not a lot of energy, effort, fight at all for the Lakers, especially on the defensive end. This is one of those games I was kind of expecting this season where they were just going to get, run off the court, especially without LeBron James. They can't keep up offensively. Reset with 19, 21, 7, and 7 from Mo Gay, who is one of the most underrated players in the NBA. A double-double from Dyson Daniels, 14 from Keaton Wallace, 17 from Asa Newell. This is also a team that didn't have Kristaps Porzingis, no Jalen Johnson. There's just nobody for the Hawks. This is definitely the worst game, worst loss of the Lakers season so far. And JJ Redick apparently had like a 20-minute pissed off press conference, which is understandable if you know JJ Redick. We had the Spurs beating the Pelicans with De'Aaron Fox making his return. He looked awesome in this game. 24, 3 and 3. Looked like he didn't miss a step. And it's crazy just how much scarier they look with De'Aaron Fox, because yeah, like Stephon Castle, who did a 14 and 14, another double-double for Castle, who was awesome, and Dylan Harper. De'Aaron Fox is just a different animal when it comes to breaking down the defense in the half court. He's a weapon they really need. 18 and 18 from Wemby, 16 from Vassell, 15 from Harrison Barnes. Overall, really good game for the Pelicans. Trey Murphy did have a 40 ball, 41 and 9, and they did fight back in this one. Like, they didn't roll over and die, which is good to see for the Pelicans. But I mean, yeah, they just continue to be a disaster overall. The Heat beat the Blazers 136 to 131. Another dominant effort from Miami, whose offense is ridiculous. We talked about Norman Powell, 22 points, 29, 6 and 9 from Nikola Jovic. 14 and 12 from Jaime Jaquez, 16 from Pau Larson. Just another game for them. No Bam Adebayo, didn't really matter. Blazers got some good performances, like 33, 8 and 11 from Denny, 18 and 13 from Drew Holiday, almost had a triple-double, 1 board short, 21 and 9 boards from Shaedon Sharpe. Like, they got some good performances, but the defense just wasn't up to snuff in this game for a team that's supposed to be a lot better than this, that is a lot better than this defensively. But it just speaks to how weird the Heat are. Like, the Heat have found a way against a number of good defenses to just completely throw them off, and Eric Spoelstra deserves all the credit in the world. That whole coaching staff for the way they've changed to the super unorthodox offense. I have to make a video about them and why it's so different at some point here soon. The Cavs knocked off the Bulls 128 to 122. DeAndre Hunter had a play where he literally injured Josh Giddey with an ankle breaker and then dunked on, I think it was Patrick Williams, it might have been Isaac Okoro, can't remember. But yeah, he was great. 29 points, 29 from Mitchell, 24 from Evan Mobley. The Cavs are again looking like the Cavs I expected them to be this season. We had the Mavericks. They did beat the Washington Wizards. Good for them. They got 30 from Najee Marshall. Desperately needed that type of game. The Wizards did get a pretty good game again from Alex Sarr, CJ McCollum. Cam Whitmore had 19 points, one of his better scoring games this season. But yeah, it's an ideal game for the Wizards. They're competitive. They ultimately lose. They help out their draft pick. And the Mavericks, they could not have afforded a lot. If they lost this one, Nico Harrison actually might have been fired tomorrow. And finally, we had the Nuggets versus the Pacers. We had 2 games left. Nuggets did blow out the Pacers. Unsurprising, Jokic has another monster game. It feels like nobody's talking about him, even though he put up 32, 14, and 14. I think we've just been normalized to what he can do. Cam Johnson, 12 points, maybe finding a little bit of a rhythm. And finally, the Sixers knocked off the Raptors in blowout fashion, semi-blowout fashion, 130 to 120. It was kind of close, but the Sixers pull away at the end. Maxey just continues to do this, 31, 7 and 4. He might actually be taking another step forward. It might not just be a hot start to the season. 29, 4 and 6 from Joel Embiid, 11, 4 and 7 from VJ Edgecombe, and a triple-double, 20, 10 and 17 boards from Trendon Watford. I really like the signing when they made it, but I can't tell you I was expecting a 20, 10 and 17 triple-double from him at any point. But yeah, it's just super cool to see him getting the chance to go ahead and produce in this spot, because I really do feel like he's been kind of a slept-on, underrated role player in his previous spots. And for the Raptors, 21, 5 and 8 from Ingram, 22 from Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly, 18 from Scotty Barnes. But yeah, they just couldn't stop anything in this game. And that Sixers offense is ridiculous, so it's not super surprising. But yeah, that is the NBA from tonight. Let me know down below in the comments what some of your takeaways were, how you feeling about your favorite team about 10 games into the season. Maybe do a little bit of a check-in. Let me know what you think about the Los Angeles Clippers. Do you think that this is an utter disaster, that they're going to continue to spiral? Do you expect a bounce back? Where are you? Are you somewhere in the middle of that spectrum where you're like, maybe they're not one of the top seeds, but they're kind of a playing team? Would love to hear y'all's thoughts as usual. And yeah, I appreciate you watching. Again, leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Appreciate y'all. I'll see you later. Real one, say it back.